From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 10. Presented by Reliance Jio. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Ravin and Kentaro. In style partner, Raymond.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon, the Indian Council of Medical Research recommended the use of the anti-malarial drug, hydroxychloroquine, as a preventive drug, but eligible only, we must emphasize, in two circumstances. It means that this recommendation is meant for asymptomatic healthcare workers who are not showing the symptoms of coronavirus, but who are in those exposed circumstances. And secondly, asymptomatic household contacts of those who have coronavirus, which means if there are family members of those who have been diagnosed with coronavirus, then the family members of those in the close contact range can use this drug. But still there are many questions about the use of hydroxychloroquine. There are people who are going out and saying that is it to be used as a preventive, prophylactic, how does it work really? So in some time, a panel of doctors will be joining me to explain these details. Also, what can be the repercussions if people use this without prescription? B, if people begin to hoard this drug. So the discussion will be on hydroxychloroquine. You can put some of your questions using the hashtag anti-malaria drug, and we will also take a few calls. So this is what has happened today. Here's the news report, and then we'll talk about it.
Hydroxychloroquine dawa is recommended only, and I mean only, for a healthcare worker who is treating a COVID patient. That is number one. Only for a healthcare worker who is treating a COVID patient.
The Indian Council for Medical Research has made itself clear and has cleared the air on the use of anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine. So who is it meant for?
So there are certain things that everyone should be aware of as far as this drug recommendation is concerned. First of all, and most importantly, it is not a drug recommended for coronavirus positive patients. It isn't something that is going to be used to treat the patients. This is only a preventative drug, not for treatment. And there is a select group of individuals that it has been recommended for. The first, of course, are the healthcare workers who come into close contact with coronavirus patients. So this has been recommended for those health workers so that they don't contract the coronavirus as well. This has also been recommended for those taking care of positive cases at home and coming into close contact. In other words, if there is a coronavirus patient who has been discharged from hospital and is being medicated at home and is being taken care of by a household contact, that person can take this drug for prevention against coronavirus. This is also not meant for prophylaxis in young children, especially under the age of 15. And it is also important to remember that this is a prescription drug. It is not available without a prescription at any chemist.
But the recommendation has triggered a debate and concern over hoarding, especially taking into consideration what the world is doing with regards to the drug. While FDA has countered him, Donald Trump recently went on record to say United States has approved use of hydroxychloroquine to battle coronavirus.
We're ordering, yes, we have millions of units ordered. Millions of units are ordered, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to be talking to the governors about it, and the FDA is working on it right now.
Jordan, which has reported over 110 cases, has said that hydroxychloroquine, the old malaria drug, can be used as treatment for coronavirus. But on the flip side, Nigeria has reported poisoning from the chloroquine drug, especially after people began self-medicating post-Trump's claim. So don't pop pills, don't hoard, don't be misled. Believe your doctor. Here's one message for you.
I don't want people to make a beeline to the chemist shop and everybody pop a pill of hydroxychloroquine. It's not going to be useful. It's not needed. Forget useful, it's not needed. Remember, every medication that you take has an effect and a side effect. So you will be unnecessarily taking a drug when it is not indicated.
Let's debate.
Very eminent panel of doctors with us on the panel this evening, and using the hashtag anti-malarial drug, you can put some of your questions to them, so please use that. I'll take at least 6 questions in the course of this conversation. I'd like to introduce all. We have Dr. Randeep Guleria, who's the man in charge of the All India Institute of Medical Science in New Delhi. He's the director of AIIMS. Dr. Naresh Trehan, he's cardiovascular and thoracic surgeons, one of the most respected in the country. Dr. Devi Shetty, who is with us, is the chairman and founder of Narayan Hridaya, and he's joining us from Bengaluru. We have the senior consultant of infectious diseases at Gleneagles, Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan. He's joining us from Chennai, very well-known cardiometabolic expert, and he's been on our panel for the last couple of days, Dr. Hemant Thakkar, and Dr. Shantanu Sen, who besides being a Rajya Sabha MP of the TMC is a former president of IMA. But let's start off. So Dr. Randeep Guleria, the ICMR said that and I'm quoting them today when this press release came out this afternoon, it says that National Task Force for COVID-19 recommends the use of hydroxychloroquine for prophylaxis of SARS-CoV-2 infection for selected individuals. Now this is a slightly technical terminology. Can you please tell us, first of all, what is hydroxychloroquine? Is it curative or preventive? That do you use it to vaccinate yourself, or do you use it after you've got the disease?
So first of all, it's important to understand that hydroxychloroquine is a derivative of chloroquine, a drug which is used extensively for the treatment of malaria. It's been being used for more than 70 years, and it is something that we've used in India as in a large scale as far as malaria prevention program is concerned. Hydroxychloroquine is a derivative of the same compound, which is much more safer and has also been used extensively for the treatment of immune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, and even patients who have sarcoidosis. And most of us who are clinicians and treating these disorders have probably used hydroxychloroquine for more than 20 years and found it to be a very safe drug. So the safety issue was one thing that the task force had looked at, that is this a safe drug? That is definitely there. There is a lot of confidence that even among Indians, there is within the dose that is recommended, it is a safe drug. The second issue is, how does it work and is it effective? Now here there is very little data. There is some data which is experimental based on viral culture and on animal studies done initially using the during the SARS outbreak. There's also some data from the MERS coronavirus, and more recently there is some data from China unpublished where they claimed it has helped in treating, and a recent study from France has also shown it to be helpful. Now in an ideal situation, if we did not have an emergency or a pandemic, one would have said that we should do a good clinical trial, a randomized controlled clinical trial, to show that this works as prophylaxis, that is as a preventive strategy, and it also works as a therapeutic strategy to treat patients with COVID-19. However, emergency situation calls for emergency strategies and a risk-benefit analysis. So when we did a risk-benefit analysis and we looked at the entire data that is emerging, and data is emerging every day, there was a feeling that there are two groups which are very vulnerable. One is our healthcare workers who are at the front line and are having a high risk of getting COVID-19 infection. We already have a huge number of individuals in Italy who are healthcare workers and have been infected with COVID-19. And this may help in decreasing the viral replication in the throat if they get exposed and prevent them from getting infection. Second group that we looked at was close contacts of a positive case. Now, there is data which shows that if you are able to give this to close contacts, you may prevent the viral getting into their upper respiratory tract, and this may be helpful. Now, again, this is some data which is based on presumptive studies rather than hardcore randomized controlled trial. But currently, because it was felt that this is a safe drug and there is an urgent need to do something in terms of offering some treatment, a risk-benefit analysis was taken and we felt that it's worthwhile to use this drug as prophylaxis. Now, currently it is being given to these groups. As we get more data, because as this drug is being tried, data is also being collected to look for safety, to look for how effective it is, does it help in decreasing the viral load and does it prevent infection. If that happens, we could further expand the use of this drug, and I feel we need to be very careful when we use it, because as I've said, this drug has also been shown in some studies from China and from France to be useful in the pneumonia which happens due to COVID-19, and we may also need this drug to treat patients who develop moderate to severe disease. So that is where we stand right now. It's a calculated risk.
I do understand.
At a time like this, I think it's important.
I think from what I understand from what you are saying today, what you're saying is that there is no vaccination yet there is for this disease, but as of now there is no vaccination. There is no vaccination as of now, but as of now it is looking at the risk factors. Somebody who is either exposed to a COVID patient or somebody who is a healthcare worker who is risking this exposure, they can take it as a prophylaxis, which in simple terms is take it before you get the disease, or if you have a chance of getting the disease. So it is to be taken before exposure only for those people who probably risk exposure, not for ordinary people. So my second question would be, which many people will ask, and I'll just take a few viewer questions after that. My second question would be, Dr. Naresh Trehan, people would ask that if it is somewhat effective, and given the situation right now and people are in worry, if it is somewhat effective, should we give someone who is in the vulnerable category a dose anyway, just to keep them protected? That why not give someone who has severe comorbidities or who is vulnerable, who is in that age group, why not give them a dose? Why not go to my doctor next door and ask, what is the dose that I can give? Yes, they are not in either of the two categories you're talking about, but they are my family members, I worry about them. Why not give it to them anyway? Find this drug somewhere and give it.
So that's a good question which we are grappling with right now. Like Dr. Guleria explained, the mode of action is really not very clear yet. So what we are saying is that people who have possible viral load in their nose or in their upper respiratory tract, this drug may decrease the viral load. Now, people who do not have a viral load already, and if we give it to them, that means the whole population could even be given that. But we then, for a random use like that without a cause and effect, the risk that you take is if there are any side effects, like people have reported iritis and some other reactions, then you don't subject the whole population without scientific proof to maybe some consequences which is not justified. So the point in the back of our mind is we have started the cautious trial on people who are caregivers to COVID patients, either in the hospital or at home, and data is being collected around the world on this basis to say what is the mode of action, how reliable is it, does it really help or it doesn't help. This is to be actually still determined.
Yeah.
So these large trials will happen now, and in the next 4 to 6, 8 weeks, we will get some idea and have stronger evidence, and then we will know, is there justification to expand it to the general public?
May I then ask as a follow-up to Dr. Devi Shetty, that Dr. Devi Shetty, is the reason why we are exercising so much caution in who this is to be used for at this stage as per the ICMR press release. Is the reason got to do with something to do with availability of the drug, that if we create a situation where we create a mass demand for the drug, but we don't have the availability, then those who are most exposed and most vulnerable will not be able to access it? Is the worry with that, or is the worry with the possible side effects of the indiscriminate use of this drug?
Arnab, the hydroxychloroquine has a lot of side effects, very major side effects, especially on the heart. A large number of patients who took it indiscriminately landed in trouble in Nigeria. And it is, good thing is it's been in the market for several years, so we know how this drug behaves. Now, raising so much of the interest and the questions about its efficacy in COVID is mainly because we are all looking at a magic bullet which doesn't exist. So my advice to lay public, all the citizens, is let's assume there is no cure. We have to look at prevention, and if somebody gets a problem disease, then how do we take care of them, rather than searching for a magic pill at this time. This is not the time to debate about efficacy of these drugs. Drug efficacy takes months and months or even many years to know whether this particular drug works or not. And after 3-4 years, you start getting the side effects. So essentially...
So what are those, I'm sorry to intervene, but what are those side effects you may want to highlight? And are these side effects only for cardiac patients or people with other problems as well?
See, mainly about the cardiac and also some neurological problems. So these are the main, every drug has multiple side effects. I'm not able I can't recall the whole list of medicines, but as a practicing heart doctor, I know that it has got potentially major side effect on the heart.
Yeah, so what the doctors, viewers, please listen to them carefully. And yes, I am going to open up to calls. We'll put the number at the bottom of your screen. What the doctors are essentially telling us, and I go to Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan next, is that some people are already facing the likelihood of exposure to COVID-19, right? It's a zero-sum game. But in such cases, the drug is given. Would that be correct? That's exactly the point. Question is this a full solution or some kind of a trial? Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan, is the ICMR recommendation is based on quote-unquote preclinical data. What does this mean? Does it mean that it's still being tried out? Or it's not a full solution yet?
It is definitely not a solution all by itself. It could be part of a solution. The problem is that, can you hear me?
Yeah, very much so. Please continue.
So it could be part of a solution. The data based on which this recommendation has been made is very, very tentative. And the study which is being quoted from France, patients who got hydroxychloroquine along with azithromycin, one died, and three people who were in the ward ended up in the ICU. So it actually caused a lot of bad things happening as well. So, and also the fact is that we really don't know what kind of dosages we should be using. So at this point, to me, it is still something which is a work in progress, and we need to study it in the setting of a clearly defined population, either as a pre-exposure or a post-exposure prophylaxis, as we say in medical parlance, and then see where it fits in, if at all it does. I am confident that it's not ready for prime time, and definitely not something which should be handed out like candy, because especially for those with cardiac arrhythmia risk, this could be risky, and it should not be taken without medical supervision.
Very important point being made there. I'm so grateful. Now we're going to take some callers and some tweets. If I can get some of the messages also coming in on my phone, I'll carry them. I am going to Dr. Thakkar. The question is that, we have multiple questions right now. One question is, Dr. Thakkar, that it is said that this, so basic point what I heard, Dr. Thakkar, and you spoke about this yesterday as well, is don't experiment with it. Don't try it. Don't prescribe it. Don't hoard it. And don't just have it without serious medical advice. There are guidelines not to. Now, the ICMR says, Dr. Thakkar, the drug is contraindicated in persons with known case of retinopathy, known hypersensitivity to hydroxychloroquine, 4-aminoquinoline compound. What does this mean in pure terms? What it means, that like it can't be just taken on a whim, like someone feels like having it. Could you explain it in layman terms for us, please?
I think, Arnab, at the outset, I must compliment you because you are amongst the few channels who have talked of hydroxychloroquine. There are channels talking about chloroquine and mixing it up with hydroxychloroquine. ICMR is very clear, we are talking about hydroxychloroquine. As a practicing clinician, I must emphasize hydroxychloroquine is not an anti-malarial drug. So we are not talking about hydroxychloroquine. Dr. Shetty, you will agree with me. No, hydroxychloroquine is not used in routine clinical practice.
Okay, so let me then, I need to clarify then, viewers, 1 minute please. I need to clarify this, viewers, immediately, that though we are using this hashtag anti-malaria drug, I am happy to be corrected. And though we are using this hashtag, we repeat, what is being spoken about by ICMR is not an anti-malaria drug. So I'm so grateful for this clarification coming in from Dr. Hemant Thakkar as well. We'll use the hashtag, but nevertheless, this correction is important. Yes, Dr. Thakkar.
The other thing I want to say is I completely endorse Dr. Goleria. Hydroxychloroquine is a derivative of chloroquine. The people in Nigeria who had toxic effects did not take hydroxychloroquine, they took chloroquine. And that's on record. The Chinese and the French trials used hydroxychloroquine. Now I'll go one step ahead. In 2014, India was the only country to approve hydroxychloroquine as an anti-diabetic drug. And we got ICMR approval. I have more than 1,000 patients. I was part of the clinical research study.
Okay.
And I again endorse what Goleria said. It is a derivative of chloroquine because it has fewer side effects. I agree with Dr. Devi Shetty, it has some cardiac effects, so it cannot be popped like candy. It has some ophthalmic effects, so it cannot be popped without medical supervision. But it is used for diabetes in diabetics for a long period of time. So one of your questions which you posed, can we give it to people with comorbidities? And Arnab, 2 days ago we discussed that my diabetic patients who are anyway on hydroxychloroquine, which is approved by the government of India, or diabetic patients who are fearful, may add hydroxychloroquine to their therapeutic armamentarium because it causes a drop in sugar. So they could use it because the diabetics are comorbid and they form part of the 3% morbidity which we see, mortality which we see with COVID. So I think we are in a situation where I agree with all the panelists. It is preclinical. It is only for prophylaxis. But we do not want too much exposure because if we are going to get the use of hydroxychloroquine for therapy in established pneumonia, we want to reserve it for that. So all and sundry should not have it.
One more point, therefore, I make from hearing Dr. Thakkar, and yes, we spoke about it a couple of days back. He's saying that it has been used in the case of some of his diabetic patients, but there also, I think, abundant caution, Dr. Goleria, we must say that even in those cases, it's not like if you're a diabetic patient and you've not been using hydroxychloroquine, that you can pop it like candy. You cannot.
Correct.
You have to take the advice of your endocrinologist, your diabetologist. If you have other cardiac conditions which are underlying, then you need to take advice of your cardiologist, take an expert advice, and only then think about it. It is not as if having it like right now, if you're a diabetic and you have it right now, that you try and protect your comorbidities on your own. It's got to be seriously medically mandated for you. Dr. Randeep Guleria, I hope I'm presenting it correctly because with 5 eminent doctors, I don't want to get any interpretation issue wrong. So please correct me at any point of time. What are other countries doing, Dr. Guleria? You know, other countries have also been looking at anti-malarial, oh sorry, it's not anti-malarial, it's a derivative of anti-malarial, it's a derivative of chloroquine. But what are other countries doing? Like in Bulgaria, their Prime Minister met with the National Consultant on Invasive Cardiology, Health Minister and National Coronavirus Task Force. They discussed the positive effect of the anti-malarial chloroquine, which becomes, this was reported. Now what is happening in other countries is what we'd like to know more about. Are they experimenting with this as well?
So there is a lot of off-label use of hydroxychloroquine even in Italy and in other countries, and there are more than 20 trials which have started across the world looking at hydroxychloroquine as a therapy in patients with COVID-19. The WHO itself is doing a multinational study with 4 arms looking at various drugs, including the anti-HIV drugs, lopinavir, ritonavir, a drug made by a US company, remdesivir, and then also looking at hydroxychloroquine in 1 arm. So there are multiple studies, and I'm very hopeful that we should start getting some data. But like I said in the beginning, this is a drug which has been used extensively. It is not chloroquine, it is a derivative of chloroquine, which is much more safer in terms of side effects. Even when we looked at this drug from the point of view of eye problem, retinitis, it had very little or no retinitis, and that's why I felt it was safe. And because it is safe, and we are going through a very trying time as far as the health sector is concerned, it was felt that it is worthwhile to give it a go in this limited population till more data is available with us in terms of using it in the high-risk group. Remember, if you use it in the high-risk group, there is also a drug-drug interaction which we need to be aware of.
Yeah, I do understand this, but you know what the danger is, that all what you are saying is fairly complicated, and what it essentially means is this is we don't need to jump the gun. Now we've got Donald Trump who jumps the gun anyway, but he's gone out and said this, and Dr. Naresh Trian, Donald Trump put out a tweet saying hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin taken together is the game changer. And I think that he's adding at the end of it, hopefully they will both work, and then a company, Novartis, comes and donates 130 million doses of the treatment for use in a number of investigational clinical trials. So I think, there needs to be abundant caution, right, before anyone, a politician or someone, just claims that this is what was the word used, the bullet, the magic bullet is the phrase that was used, that before we make those claims, we need to have abundant caution, Dr. Naresh Trian, don't we?
Yes, that's why we are saying that the only thing it is approved for is for these 2 categories as described. But there is one more addition I should tell you.
Okay.
We just treated 14 Italians who were tested positive in Rajasthan, and the government of India requested us to take them into Vedanta. So we have been treating them, and good to say that 11 of them have gone home, treated, tested negative after 2 weeks. Now, what we experienced when the ones that got serious, the ones who started developing pulmonary symptoms, while we were in touch with the Italian doctors who are treating thousands of patients and in touch with the American counterparts, they advised the use of chloroquine, not hydroxychloroquine, but chloroquine for the treatment as an adjuvant treatment to the antivirals in these serious cases of COVID, and most of them recovered. So we don't know right now exactly the mode of action. What we do believe that at a certain stage in the phase of the disease, there is a cytokine storm that actually is very destructive to not only the virus but normal tissue. When that happens, chloroquine seems to be reducing the viral load and the reaction. So this is all under investigation internationally now, and in the next few weeks we will get some solid evidence. Till then, we must tread on it very carefully and not to be used willy-nilly by the population at large.
Absolutely. We have a caller. Gautam is calling in from Darjeeling. We'll take the call. We have complete lockdown in Karnataka, and we have a lot of increase in the number of cases that have come in from Kerala. I saw it on the ticker, the number reaching 470. Plus, we'll check that. And the caller is from Darjeeling. Gautam, are you there?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Yeah, go on, Gautam. Ask your question to any of our doctors. Please go on.
I'm telling you that I'm a regular watcher of your program. I like you because you are a very straightforward anchor. Number one, first program, that Patna and Mumbai and some part of the Delhi that you have shown in your program, though my view is very clear. They are taking the advantages of the.
Okay, Gautam, your issue is on a different subject from what we are discussing right now. We are very specifically discussing the use of hydroxychloroquine. So I'm sorry, I'll cut it because the doctors are giving very specific information related to that. What we discussed was our first debate. So sorry, I'll cut your call, but I'll get you back another time. The use, therefore, of hydroxychloroquine. Now, in France, Dr. Shetty, in France, many are quoting a study by a French scientist that 70% of patients who received hydroxychloroquine were virologically cured. Now, it must be noted that only 42 participants took part in the study, out of which 26 received the medication, 6 opted out, 1 died, 3 were transferred to ICU, and 1 person had nausea. But yet the figure which comes out is that 70% were virologically cured. What does this tell you?
Arnab, first of all, 80% of the COVID patients without any treatment will get better and go home. That's the data. So I'm not sure what kind of a patients they have given this medicine. But as a regular healthcare worker, I just want to give a message. The moment we create this hype on this hydroxychloroquine, you know how the Indian pharmaceutical system, pharmacies work. There will be, everyone will rush to the shop and we can buy any medicine without prescription.
Yeah.
They will pick up the medicine and when a genuine healthcare worker needs this medicine, like today healthcare workers, doctors and nurses don't have cap and a mask. And people on the street are walking around with very expensive N95 mask. So the same thing will happen with these drugs. Even if it has very good protective effect, it is not required for the lay public. So there has to be some degree of regulation.
Yeah.
Where this medicine can be sold, it should be sold in the hospital pharmacies exclusively for the healthcare workers. I
also, totally. And I also, since I have limited time, want to make a point, and I think Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan must also come to this. Just abundant caution, US-based study that I saw, said a number of fatalities have been reported following the accidental ingestion of hydroxychloroquine, and in young, very small children, the accidental ingestion of chloroquine, sometimes in relatively small doses, I'm quoting here, was dangerous, and patients were strongly warned to keep this drug out of the reach of children because they are especially sensitive to the 4 aminoquinoline compounds. What does this mean?
See, it's about their metabolism being a little different. But here's the point. Small children are anyway very low risk as far as coronavirus is concerned. So there should be no recommendation for use of chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine for that matter in a pediatric age group at all. They don't die. So let's not recommend that under any circumstance to them.
Absolutely.
I have one other point though. Chloroquine was used as an antiparasitic drug for falciparum malaria. When the density of chloroquine went up, falciparum adapted and developed resistance. And if we start doing that with hydroxychloroquine, my concern is coronavirus is an incredibly smart and adaptable virus.
Yeah.
Will it adapt? Lifestyle diseases like diabetes will not adapt. But pathogen-based diseases, especially viral diseases like coronavirus, are tremendously capable of adapting And if we increase the pressure by having too many people taking hydroxychloroquine for no good reason, then the virus becomes adaptive. It will develop resistance. This could happen very quickly. And we lose a very useful drug for the treatment.
See, people
so
are
please
making...
exercise caution.
People are making claims. The reason I'm spending so much time on this, we've extended our time limit on the discussion, if you've noticed, is A, because I have a fantastic panel of doctors tonight, B, because some people want to call. I've got one caller, Subhash Bandela from Nashik. But one point I want to make here tonight is because many people are out making claims. We have been contacted by many people saying, I've got the drug. 10 to 15 people would have contacted me, or people in our staff saying, we've got the drug. People are making claims. Some people say, I've patented it. Everybody's making claims. Now, we need to make the point that unless the ICMR approved, to make claims itself is irresponsible. But it becomes a free-for-all season. That's why we are doing this conversation. I'm so grateful to you. One last caller, Subhash Bandela has got a call from Nashik, and Dr. Hemant Thakkar can take that. Yes, Subhash, are you there, Subhash ji?
Yeah, Arnab, this is Subhash Bandela here, calling you from Nashik. How are you?
I'm very well. Ask your question quickly, yeah.
Yeah, Arnab, you know what? I want to ask this question to all the panel doctors here. My worry is, you see, we are a peculiar country, okay, India. The homeopaths, the Ayurveda, all doctors, they go on prescribing drugs without even they having any knowledge of the drug, okay. Now, this one drug has given us hope, okay. So, unless the government takes over this prescription of this drug, okay, I am worried that, maybe the quack doctors or some doctors who are not authorized to practice these drugs, okay, they go on randomly prescribing it.
Correct.
And you know what? My worry is that the virus should not get adaptive to this drug, okay? Because once it does, and Arnab, there is no check and control. You see, honestly
you're right.
There is no check and control, and any Tom, Dick and Harry, even BMS.
Yes, Subhash, I got the point. I think let Dr. Hemant Thakkar take that. That's exactly the point that Subramanian Swaminathan made, but I think it can be reinforced. Yes, please, Dr. Thakkar.
So I would say save the patient, save the drug. If you want to save the patient and his exposure contacts, you take the drug purely and sincerely under medical supervision. But save the drug from rampant misuse. This drug may come in use for the sick ICU pneumonia patients. This drug can get abused and the coronavirus can get smarter. So save the patient, save the drug.
Yes.
The government should come out with strong regulations that unless prescribed by the doctor, and the doctor too should have his credentials intact and not just wantonly prescribe without any rhyme or reason.
Absolutely, Dr. Thakkar, Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Devi Shetty, Dr. Naresh Trehan, and Dr. Randeep Guleria. I'm indeed grateful to all of you for clarifying our doubts on this subject and for supporting our coverage in the battle against coronavirus. And moving on,